Hello everyone, I'm Jessica Blackbird. Welcome to my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. So, according to the New York Times, there is an uptick in elder poverty, a blip or a sign of things to come. Seniors didn't fare well through the pandemic as most, but long-term trends aren't moving in their favor either. At the advent of Medicare and Medicaid in the 1960s, more than a third of older Americans lived in poverty. By 2020, the figure had fallen to 9.5%. But last year, even as the poverty rate sank for everyone else, it rose among seniors to 10.7%. The uptake offers new evidence that elderly people haven't fared as well as younger generations in recent years, and some experts worry that it may signal a broader setback in the financial security of people past their prime working years. The coronavirus pandemic is a central driver. Those 65 or older usually weren't eligible for as much pandemic relief as families with children. Older workers left the labor force at higher rates than others as CV-19 spread and can have difficulty returning. That's the situation that Walter Cox, 64, may find himself in. As an automotive technician at a car dealership in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he never made more than $9.50 an hour and wasn't able to save money while raising 2 children. Nevertheless, he retired in 2020 as the physical labor and rude customers took a toll. He also got married, and he and his wife had about $2,000 in combined monthly income for most of 2021, which made for a comfortable if modest living. But when his wife had to leave for New Mexico to take care of her mother, the couple divorced, leaving Mr. Cox with a $765 Social Security check to cover all of his bills. That will leave him below the official poverty threshold of $12,996 for a person 65 or older living alone. He has been mowing yards for some extra income, but can't do anything he had imagined doing in retirement, like a road trip to Yellowstone National Park. I literally cannot afford to do anything but put gas in my car, buy groceries, and pay my utility bills, Mr. Cox said. Because of the divorce, it's looking pretty grim, but I'm hopeful that things improve. For many older Americans, an inflation adjustment to Social Security payments, an 8.7% increase for 2023 was announced on Thursday, will help next year. But people hitting retirement today often depend on Social Security as their only source of income, which wasn't the program's original intention. Older workers' wages have grown more slowly compared with other groups over the past few years, and many didn't have a 401k account or didn't contribute enough to them as companies closed their defined benefit pension plans over the last couple of decades. We're getting more and more older people who lived through this experiment with do-it-yourself pensions, and they're coming into this age group without the same kind of incomes that older people have, said Teresa Ghilarducci, an economics professor at the New School who specializes in retirement policy. I don't think it's a blip. Even though the share of elderly people officially below the poverty line is low by historical standards in the United States, it remains among the highest in the developed world, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. The average poverty rate for older Americans also makes far higher shares among more vulnerable groups, with nearly 1 in 5 Black and Hispanic women 65 or older falling below the official poverty threshold in 2021. It's higher for single people too, a reality forced on hundreds of thousands of older Americans whose spouses died of CV-19. The poverty rate is also not a bright line when it comes to financial hardship. It doesn't take into account debt, which more seniors have accumulated since the Great Recession. Moreover, nearly 1 in 4 people 65 or older make less than 150% of the federal poverty line, or $19,494 on average for those living alone. Another measure developed by the Gerontology Institute at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and called the Elder Index, finds that it takes $22,476 for a single older person in good health with no mortgage to cover basic needs, with the cost escalating for renters and those with health problems. To some extent, we're splitting hairs when we talk about people who fall just above and just below because they're all struggling, said Jan Muchler, a demographer at the University of Massachusetts at Boston, who helped devise the Elder Index. The assumptions that go into what we're calling hardship are just flawed. That's true for Juanita Brown, 77, who lives on her own in Galax, a small town in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains. A farmer's daughter, she worked as a nanny and then a certified nursing assistant, and then a preschool teacher. Her husband worked in the local textile industry, and after raising 2 children, they had built a substantial nest egg. But then Miss Brown's mother developed Alzheimer's disease and couldn't support herself. Miss Brown stopped working to take care of her, which cost another $500 per month in expenses. Her husband got prostate cancer, which required extended trips to the hospital in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That depleted us, Ms. Brown said. After her husband died in 2019, she was left with a car payment and more bills that went unpaid during his illness. She took out another mortgage on her home to help cover them, along with the $1,465 she gets from Social Security on the 4th Wednesday of every month. That technically puts her above the poverty line, but that hasn't left enough money to replace the dentures she lost 3 years ago or to replenish her heating oil, which now costs up to $250 a tank. She uses her wood stove as much as she can, but it gets too cold at night, which aggravates her arthritis. She records every expense in a little booklet. When you sit down and look at your income and what you got to pay for every month, you got to cut corners, Ms. Brown said. Sometimes one of her sons will visit and leave her with $50, even though she knows they can't afford it either. Many times before, Ms. Brown had leaned on the support of District 3 Governmental Cooperative, a local agency that provides transportation, help navigating government benefits, opportunities to socialize, and other services for elderly residents. Debbie Spencer, the agency's Director of Aging and Disability Services, has seen more clients struggle over the last year to pay for groceries. CV-19 also made it more difficult to reach her more isolated clients who often lack internet connections. We're seeing people who don't know whether to pay their utility bills, to buy food, or to buy medicine, Ms. Spencer said. They're having to make decisions about what they're going to do. We helped people last year, but we see more and more people calling us this year for help. The agency also runs a training program for older workers, popular with people who found their Social Security income inadequate to live on. And so it goes on and on to talk about statistics and other people who have found it hard to make it, older people. And you guys, the article goes on for some time, but it is so sad that the elderly in the United States of America, where all other countries are clamoring to get here, you know, they see the United States as a place, you know, paved with streets of gold and the real land of milk and honey, where everyone can make it and do so well. And our senior citizens, so many of them, not all, but many, far more of them are having hard times than not. And with this inflation, food prices are off the charts right now, and the gas is going back up. So let's talk about what we can do for our parents, or if you have an aunt or an uncle that, you know, is in need and you can help, even with a little bit. So if you go to the grocery store and you're going to get groceries and household items for yourself, throw something extra in there for one of your elderly loved ones, whether it's your mother, father, parents, uncle, aunt, or even a neighbor who doesn't get visits very often. Throw in an extra package of toilet paper. Throw in an extra, pack of chicken legs or something, drumsticks. Just every time you go, put something extra, if you can afford it, in your basket. And then once you've built a nice little basket stockpile for the elderly person, bring it over to them. You guys, this will help them so much. So if they have, food, if it's only one person, a family pack of drumsticks, it's going to last them a little while because they're probably going to eat only 2 or so, Older people, a lot of them that I know, they don't gorge like we do, They're very, they just don't do stuff like that. They know how to stretch their food. And it is just sad that, as always, older people in this country have to decide whether they're going to keep their lights on or pay for their medication, whether they're going to eat today or pay for their light bill. It reminds me of, remember, you guys, if you guys know about, which I'm pretty sure everybody on earth remembers, JJ in Florida, Good Times. That was the name of it. Remember the elderly neighbor that JJ thought was eating cat food out of a can? And the neighbor brought them this really nice meatloaf to thank them for something they'd done. It's so long ago since I saw it. And JJ was refusing and making a dumbass out of himself. He didn't want to eat the meatloaf because he thought she'd made it with cat food. And so she was so mortified and upset because she used real meat. But you think that would happen in real life? I think so. I think that some older people are having to make those hard decisions. And it's only going to get worse, you guys. I just don't understand. And, I'm not saying that mothers with children shouldn't get assistance, because they should. Children are innocent and we don't want them going hungry either. But why do we sink so much in to people with children and we leave nothing, barely anything for the elderly? I think there should be WIC for the elderly, not just women who are carrying children, who are pregnant, and little kids. Why can't the elderly get WIC? That would really help a lot. That is something that should be available to the elderly. So the thing that I'm asking all of you to do is just pick up something extra every week if you can. And at the end of the month, see what you have to give to an older person that you love. I did this for my mother and her husband, and they weren't asking for anything. They always have food, but with everything, the price of everything climbing, we went out and I used coupons. I'm a coupon guru, you guys. I don't like to pay full price for anything if I don't have to, but I got maybe almost $200 worth of household items like toothpaste, toothbrushes, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, so many things, and food I got also. And we brought everything to them, and my brothers did the exact same thing. So if you have siblings and all of you are doing well enough, get together and make a care package, something you know that they'll need, something you know that they'll eat, and give them a chance to keep some of that money in their pockets that they would be using for household items and food, and give them a break. I feel so bad for our elderly in this country. Like, and I think about those who don't have children to depend on. I think about myself all the time as I get older, and I'm like, wow, I hope I stay, well enough, okay, mentally and physically to take care of myself for the rest of my life, So let's just go out there and help our mothers and fathers and any elderly person that you think needs help, if you can. Not everyone can right now, but if you can, let's make a pledge that we will at least once help them out. All right, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any great ideas about helping people to get the best deals on different things to give to their elderly, or any ideas to help them out, put them in the comments. Let's talk about this. And then you guys go and talk to people that you know, and let's get out there and help them. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next video.